Welcome back to the Mastering Sales and Negotiations podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Massey. And this week on the podcast, we had the pleasure of being joined by Myles Davidson, Head of Sales for EMEA at Zühlke. We discussed how sales skills improvement can help demystify sales for their specialised consultants and technical experts and allow them to align their solutions precisely with customer challenges, building deeper trust through value-focused dialogue. Today, I'm joined by Robin Hoyle to discuss the key takeaways from our conversation with Myles. And what makes Robin such an expert, you might ask? Well, he is very well known in the L&D industry, addresses leaders all over the world at conferences and summits, and is the author of 2 books around learning culture, and has walked in sales director shoes himself. So suffice to say, he knows his stuff. Let's get going. Loved that conversation with Myles.
It was great, wasn't it?
Wasn't it great?
Good? Yeah.
And that evolving role of customer-facing professionals, I mean, it must be the same for so many organisations, especially in that consultancy sort of world.
Of course it is. I mean, we've all heard stories of these consultancies where, you see the salesperson for the first time and then the next thing you've got is a 21-year-old intern who's doing all the work for you. That idea of having a real relationship with the people who do the work, who understand your organisation inside and out, understand the problems that you're facing, the requirements that you have, getting the explicit needs that Myles was talking about before they start work. I think that's just so important. And the idea that they can also have a very significant role as they're working alongside their equivalents in the technology department or in the other areas of the business. I think, vital insights that they can bring. And of course, if they've got a common language, the commercial skills, the ability to actually ask the right questions at the right time, why wouldn't you do it? It seems to me an absolute no-brainer that anybody who's got interaction with the customer ought to have those baseline commercial skills at least. And in a situation like Zühlke, where it's so much based on trust, long-term sales cycles, understanding the team, they need more than just the surface commercial capabilities. They really need to be embedded within it.
And I like the fact that they'd understood after the spin training, they'd really loved that idea of the explicit need. Let's get to that.
Absolutely, because, we like to solve problems. It's one of the things that I talk about when people say to me that they are solution sellers. Well, there's no more solution-focused people within my experience of working than the guys who are doing the technology stuff. The people who are architects, engineers of systems, they love to solve problems. And sometimes they can run away with, we could do this, we could do that, we could do the other thing. And they haven't really got what it is that the organization or the client or the user really needs. So I think that understanding of sell to the explicit need. When they've said, this is what I want to do, get there. But it goes beyond there, which is the phrase that I think both of you hit on, which is this idea of building the customer's vision.
Oh, I loved that, yeah. And them doing that at the seller's side is fantastic, isn't it?
Absolutely. The idea that not that we want the customer to want to buy our stuff, but we want the customer to be thinking about where this could go to, what the future looks like, not solving the problems of last week, but solving the problems of a year and 2 years hence. That idea of really getting onto the same page with the customer is important. But it's one of the things that you and I have talked about before, because we've got a webinar about this idea of the two-faced seller. The idea of your job is not just outward-facing to the customer, it's inward-facing to your organization to get everybody on the same page, to justify the resources, the timelines, the sales cycles that you're going to go through, to get access to those engineers, those data architects, those cloud specialists to come in and speak to somebody who they understand and who understands them within the client organization before pen has been put to paper. That's a hard job, getting that resource, because these people are fee earners and things like that. So the salesperson's role in the middle of that interaction between the customer and the rest of their own organization is absolutely crucial. And I think it's a real opportunity to build capability of the salespeople and create opportunities for the non-salespeople to understand the commercial reality in which they're working.
I also love that story about his colleague Dave with the negotiation
We
skills.
love Dave.
We love Dave.
We love Dave. And that idea of just, no BS, actually saying, look, no, we can't do that. That's not going to work. That's not an idea that we're going to pursue. Being very upfront with people because you have that authority because people know that you can do it.
And also being so prepared, having all that stuff in advance to fall back on, understanding where he was going to go with it all. Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, I was working with an organisation recently, and I said to them, "How many negotiable issues do you deal with?" And they go, 2 or 3 each negotiation. I said, "And how many possible outcomes do you envisage and prepare for within each of those negotiable issues?" And they go, 2 or 3, and I go, "That's great. That's exactly what we saw our average negotiators do."
Yeah.
Our skilled negotiators were doing twice as many.
Yeah.
And you could see them go, "Oh, we thought we were quite good at this." And you go, yeah, bang in the middle of average, mate. Well done, you. Good stuff. Carry on. and that, just having that kind of sense of, no, I'm going to be really well prepared. I'm going to have done the planning. I'm going to have got the data. I'm going to understand the potential directions within which this conversation is going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be ready for it. Not to the word, because there will be things which come from left field and all this, but just having that sense of I am in control of this conversation. I would like it to go from here to here, and then it could go over here, over there, and I'm ready for it.
But I'll have a bit of an idea.
Exactly, and that is just how many times do you want that person alongside you?
No, it's music to our ears.
Exactly, because we've all been there where we've got the one trick pony who comes and goes, well, what we can do is do the thing that we've always done for other people, we always do it for. And you kind of go, that's not what we need, really.
Not anymore.
No, not good enough anymore. I think one of the other things that he said, Rachel, was that idea of having to put in place processes, procedures, practices to deal with the fact that people are working remotely and your team is working remotely. The idea that you don't actually have to be on their mainframe sitting downstairs in the basement to do the technology stuff that you
Meet them
doing.
where they are.
Meet them where they are. I don't know, there's a lesson there, isn't there? I think that was really important to say, look, we know most things are going to happen remotely. Most things are going to happen at the end of a Teams call. Most things are going to happen through us working in our environment and them working in their environment. But actually, just making the space and the time to get alongside someone, to have a conversation with them, to do it in an environment which is slightly less pressured. We don't have an agenda. We're going out for lunch.
And we've not got a Teams meeting in 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Just make the space for that. And again, I think within a world which is increasingly remote from each other, where people are increasingly outside that, I'm not advocating that we all go back to working in the office, not for a second. But I do think there have to be strategies in place for organisations to just have that serendipitous conversation where you get to know a little bit about the person. There's an opening up where it might be a throwaway comment, maybe one sentence that they say, but actually it goes, that's given me an idea.
An idea there, yeah.
Let's see if I can talk to Dave or whoever it is about how we make something of it.
Yeah.
That's important. So that's what Rachel and I thought took away from the conversation with Myles Davidson, the head of sales EMEA from Zühlke. We thought it was a fascinating conversation. And if you haven't listened to all of it, strongly recommend take some time out, 45 minutes well spent, of listening to the entire conversation and understanding how Zühlke have continued to build capability across their team in commercial disciplines, as well as the unquestionable skills that they have within the technical space that they operate in. So I think you'll enjoy that. But that's what we thought about what Myles said. What did you take away? If you've enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to tell other people about it. And of course, you can make sure you don't miss any of the Future Sales and Mastering Negotiations podcasts by liking and subscribing from wherever you get your normal podcasts from. And of course, you can always find them on the Huthwaite International website.